Imagine living your life after 50 and feeling energized and excited about your future. Welcome to the Women in the Middle podcast, the podcast for women who are ready to figure out what they want and create the life they deserve. Here's your host and master certified life coach, Suzy Rosenstein.
Hey there, welcome back to the podcast, Women in the Middle. I'm your host, Suzy Rosenstein, and I'm so glad to be here with you again for this week's episode, which is all about setting the stage for midlife weight loss. Today we're talking specifically about the forest a little more than the trees when it comes to losing weight. And what I mean is, I'm not going to be going into details about what you should be eating or details related to calorie counting or anything like that, but instead, about the broader perspective and mindset issues that will help you supercharge your weight loss if you dial them in. Also, I have to tell you that I'm crossing my fingers a little bit because Nico the Noof, my big dog, is asleep at my feet and he's snoring a little bit. And my little parrot Dee Dee is in her cage and they're all in my room. Normally when I record the podcast, they're in a different room. But I don't know what happened. They're here. So let's just cross our fingers and hope everything goes okay. Anyway, this episode is sponsored by something I'm pretty excited to tell you about. It's super fun and super important, and it's called Kickstart 50. Kickstart 50 is a hands-on motivational vision coaching experience that makes your dreams take flight and helps you take intentional action to really make things start to happen in your life finally. So let me ask you a couple of questions. Do you feel frustrated because you don't really know what you want in this phase of your life? Do you wish you could get on the live your best life train, but feel overwhelmed? Do you think you can't do visioning work because you really have no clue what you want? Do you feel negative about aging? Do you wonder how in the world you're going to make big changes anyway? Does that sound like you? Well, I hear you. Doing visioning work can be amazingly effective, but it is not magic. And you know, it can feel impossible because of the way you feel about your 50s. It can be extra challenging because in midlife, it's so easy to think about what you can't do instead of what you can do. That's the exact reason I created the Kickstart 50 coaching experience, to take you from not even having a sense of direction for what you would really like to be a part of your future, to having the most up-to-date, shiny, and exciting roadmap available. Do you have a vision board kicking around, maybe under your bed or behind your desk? Visioning activities and tools can be strong visual cues to help you create the life you want on purpose, but they won't work alone, and you know, they certainly won't work under your bed. The skills that you learn here with Kickstart 50 coaching will help you move forward on some of your most important dreams, finally, even at your age. So you curious? I bet you are. Kickstart 50 is a combination coaching experience with a really fun approach. First, you're going to get something fun in the mail. It's called a Happy Pack. So you can make your Kickstart 50 happiness board. It's a guide. It's like a map. It's a visual reminder, kind of like a vision board, but better because Kickstart 50 goes deeper with life coaching and support. That's how you're going to kickstart your 50s and bring your dreams to life. That's the start, but you're going to get more. You're also going to get a 90-minute Kickstart 50 regret-proofing webinar on Zoom where you're going to get direction and coaching to bring your dreams to life, to really get things going. And you're also going to get one more thing. You're going to get a 30-minute private follow-up coaching session to specifically talk about what you want and how you're going to get there. So you're going to get the Happy Pack in the mail, you're going to get the 90-minute webinar, and you're going to get the private coaching session. It's amazing value to kick your excuses to the door and to start focusing on your future. Finally. So this program is only offered a few times a year. There are only 12 spots available, so book as soon as possible. The webinar will take place on Monday, June 3rd in the evening, 7:30 to 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And to get delivery of your Kickstart 50 Happiness Pack, you got to get signed up by May 19th, 2019. The investment is only $197, so book now to kickstart your amazing future with Kickstart 50 and get going. Oh yeah, P.S. It makes a great birthday gift for someone turning 50. So just head over to www.suzyrosenstein.com/kickstart50. Okay, now let's dive into setting the stage for weight loss in midlife. First, answer this question. How many diets do you think you've tried in your lifetime? I have seen so many statistics for how many diets women have gone on, and I'm sure it's no surprise to you that it is a ton. I saw one British stat that women will try 130 diets in their lifetime. I could not believe it. So clearly, if you're trying so many diets, nothing has worked yet. It's super common. You're in the most excellent of company. And then if things weren't bad enough, you hit menopause. I remember 6 years ago when I hit menopause, my doctor told me to expect to gain 12 to 18 pounds. Guess what I gained? 12 to 18 pounds. And that's a beautiful introduction to this topic. It turns out that a lot of weight loss has to do with your thinking. I was expecting weight gain in menopause. I'm sure you are or were too. My doctor basically confirmed that it's common to gain weight in menopause. I started to think that I would gain that amount of weight. And my result, what happened, was that I proved that thought, which, as you know, is exactly what happens. Your results, like weight, absolutely prove your thinking. The way you think about yourself and your ability to have your own back and create what it is that you want, it's all related. We have so much power, but really don't know how to use it. And this was an example about thinking what you don't want. But what about when you harness this power and think about what you do want? That's what I'm talking about. So to start, let me ask you to think about another question. This question actually shocked me when I was working with my first coach. The question is, why are you choosing to weigh what you weigh? In other words, why are you making the choice to be your current weight? Did that question sound odd to you? It sure did to me, because I hadn't really taken full responsibility for the weight that I was. I kind of felt like I was destined to be that weight, like the weight was happening to me, like I didn't have full control. In fact, the more I dug into my brain, and really thought about it, I realized that I had a thought that was totally getting in my way. I found a doozy. My thought was, it's harder for me to lose weight because I'm only 4'10". Yes, I am only 4'10". I'm pretty short. Probably shorter now because I'm shrinking a little bit in my 50s. But I actually thought that it was harder for me to lose weight because I was short. Like it was a genetic defect that was impossible to override. And I'd been thinking this way quietly, subconsciously, for about 40 years. It was a very practiced thought. It seemed like the truth. It felt like a fact. It felt really factual. So much so that when I said it to my coach, I believed it so hard that it didn't seem ridiculous at all. But of course, it seemed ridiculous to her. She asked me a very simple question, a beautiful little question, a one-word question. And that question is why? Why did I think this? Almost immediately, I realized that my thinking didn't make sense. Back then, before I knew anything about the power of your thinking, it's what I thought. I didn't even really understand that it was a thought. And I didn't understand the power of this thought. Now notice what happens when you think that you can't do anything about something. For me, it was my height. My height was making it harder for me to lose weight. It's so subtle. Did you notice it when you start to think that you don't have any control? You disconnect a bit from the outcome. You pull back. You don't try as hard. You quit in advance. You feel less capable. So going back to that question, why are you choosing to weigh what you currently weigh? What's your answer? Does it feel like a choice that you're making? Is it an excuse? That something out there is making it harder for you? Your answer to this question is so important. Awareness of what you really think about your weight is critical, and it's often tricky to even know what you think because what you think seems like truth or fact, like it did for me, like it's not anything you would question because it just feels like the way it is. You don't even know that it's optional to think the thought that you're thinking. It just seems like something that's in your reality. And that is why this question about why you're choosing to be your current weight is so great. It's jarring, and it really shifts the responsibility for your weight straight to you and to your thinking, to your choices. And this is what I mean by setting the stage for weight loss in midlife. It's difficult to have weight loss success when you're not aware of your thinking. You're not aware of what's going on up there. In midlife, you have all kinds of thoughts about your weight and your ability to lose weight. You may think that nothing will work. You may think that you're not able to lose weight, that it's never worked before, that menopause makes it harder. You might even just have the thought, I just can't do it. This kind of thing, right? So really dig around up there in your brain and notice your thinking. Your thinking will create your results, and this is true if you're aware of your thinking or not. Your thinking will create your results. So if your goal is weight loss, you really need to see what is going on up there. You might actually be getting in your own way without your permission. And if you think you've never been able to lose weight, then you will prove that to yourself again. If you think that nothing works for you, then you will prove that to yourself again. If you think it's too hard to lose weight, then you will prove that thought true. See what I mean? It really matters what you believe. You've probably had this mindset about your ability to lose weight for decades. Your thinking has become a habit with a deep neural pathway in your brain. Thinking this way has become easy for you, comfortable, even though it's not what you want. Thinking differently will be more uncomfortable and be challenging to your belief system. But your current thinking will only create your current results. It's impossible to have different weight-related results with your current thinking. You must think differently about your ability to release the weight for you to create that result in your life and on your body. What you're currently thinking is creating your current results. To get different results, you have to think differently. So if you notice that you think, I just can't lose the weight, then you will have to really work on not thinking that thought. I know it sounds obvious, but it's so connected to what's going to happen. You need to open up your mind a little bit to allow the possibility that you can actually lose weight. So a baby step for you might be something simple, like a thought like, I'm open to the possibility that I can lose weight. Just open that door a little bit. Practice thinking a thought like this and see if you feel that shift from leaning out to leaning in, from failing in advance to actually doing it. Understanding what you're thinking about your ability to lose weight is really critical to setting the stage for this work. If you're a regular listener of this podcast, you know how important it is to manage your emotions. Now, this is another critical part of setting the stage for weight loss. It's the second way, getting a handle on your emotions. You're probably familiar with the concept of emotional eating. I was too, but I didn't fully understand it when I first started learning about it. It means that you eat instead of dealing with how you're feeling, basically. It's not just eating because you're stressed or sad or upset or obviously emotional. It's also eating because you're bored or because you're looking for excitement. It's eating when you're not hungry, but feeling something you want to go away or change, right? So you're feeling something that you want to change. And it's common to do this. To lose weight, though, you need to be much more aware of your tendency to do this, however it shows up for you. And what this means is always thinking about why you're eating. It's a pretty broad topic, but I want to draw your attention to two specific aspects of emotional eating that I didn't really appreciate, and that is snacking, or maybe you'll call it foraging, because that's what it looks like to me. and socializing. Like I said, with me, I never connected to the concept of being an emotional eater. I thought that was for people who had more extreme emotions. But what I noticed was how often I walked to the kitchen when I was working on writing something, typically, something for work. Now, I wasn't sad or upset, but I did have this negative emotion. It was a feeling of being challenged or stuck. And before I knew it, I was in the kitchen opening pantry doors and standing in front of the fridge with the door open, and I was like rooting around for food, like that foraging I was mentioning. I wasn't hungry, but what I was working on was hard. So I was looking for a way to distract myself with food. Now, I had other options, of course. I could listen to a song. I could take a dance break. I could do 10 push-ups. I could phone a friend. I could do any of these things, but what I did had to do with food. And you know what? This is emotional eating. Being aware of this tendency is critical with weight loss. Now, another big one that might surprise you is how you feel when you're socializing. I noticed this with me when I was out for dinner with the kids. Going out is fun, and my young adults are pretty funny. Now, I noticed that I made choices about what to eat and how much to eat that were actually related to not wanting to feel left out of the fun. Can you relate to this? Somehow, I was equating eating nachos together with my kids with a way to have fun with my kids, and that if I didn't eat the nachos, I wouldn't be having fun. So interesting, right? In my mind, the nachos were making it fun. Thoughts create emotions. Thoughts create these feelings, right? So I can actually feel the pleasure and enjoyment of socializing with my kids at a restaurant table without eating the nachos, obviously. The nachos are neutral, but my thoughts about the nachos are not. And my thoughts were not serving me. But I really did tie that together. So this is another example of making choices about food based on how you feel or how you want to feel. Feeling connected and enjoying time with family comes from your thinking, not a plate of nachos. So what's coming up for you? Can you think of times that you're choosing to eat as a way to feel a certain way or avoid feeling a certain way? Good to know, right? And something to dial in when you're setting the stage for weight loss. A third aspect of setting the stage is increasing your skill to connect with your actual feelings of hunger. Now, it's super common to be disconnected from this sensation. What I'm talking about is connecting with your body more about actual hunger, not just about having an urge or a desire for a certain food. So physical hunger can be described as a sensation that you get in your body. It usually comes in waves. Now, emotions are different. Emotions are vibrations caused by thoughts. So hunger goes from your body up to your brain, and emotions are caused by your brain going to create the emotions, right? So it's body to brain, brain to body. So it's different. It's very different. And when you think that it's time for you to eat, it's critical to figure out if your body is telling you that it's time for food or if it's your brain telling you something that creates a desire or an urge to eat. It's a big difference, and it's related to weight loss. So you can play with this concept by simply slowing down and creating a pause to notice how hungry or how full you are. You can do this before, during, or after a meal to start to connect with yourself. So eating past the light feeling of fullness is overeating. And most of us overeat, and we don't even notice this. So you can think of your hunger on a continuum from -10, which is like starving, to +10, which is super full. The idea is to not get too hungry or too full, but that's not what typically happens. It's shocking how much food your body actually needs for fuel. It is way less than you think. And if you eat more than what's for fuel, then it's overeating. Now, I have a client who once told me that she noticed it took only 5 to 6 bites for her to feel lightly full, which is what the goal was. What she noticed is how often that she wanted to eat past that point. And I have to tell you, I have noticed that with me as well. I bet you will notice the same thing. If you're somebody who's trying to lose weight, then you could probably identify with that. Now, another way that you can learn more about the power of an urge or a craving for a certain food is to start thinking about something that you love to eat when you're not hungry at all. Now, it happened to me today, actually, when I was driving by my local Tim Hortons donut shop. We call Tim Hortons donut shops Timmy's up here in Toronto. Now, I loved chocolate glazed donuts from Timmy's. I haven't thought about chocolate glazed donuts in weeks, but today I drove by and the thought popped into my mind. All of a sudden, I wanted a chocolate glazed donut. It had nothing to do with hunger. I was thinking, well, I usually get one in the morning when I have coffee. It's too late for coffee, but I still want the donut. Do I need the donut? I want the donut, but I don't need the donut. Like, I actually had this whole dramatic conversation in my mind about the donut. And like I said, it had nothing to do with hunger. But instead, I saw the donut and coffee shop. I started thinking about that stupid donut, and then I created the desire. Now, if I hadn't been working on this, I have really been working on this. By connecting to my feeling, my hunger, and my understanding of my urges, I'm not sure I would have driven by the donut shop. But I could totally see what was happening because, like I said, I've really been working on this awareness. When I worked downtown for 19 years, I did the drive-through at this particular Tim Hortons very regularly. I didn't get a chocolate glazed donut every time, but I did get one on occasion. I got coffee every time. And I created a habit. I rewarded my urge often. The thing is that when you practice actually connecting to your feelings of hunger, you can tell the difference. This understanding will absolutely help you set the stage for weight loss. Okay, a fourth aspect of setting the stage is understanding your resistance. Now, resistance is interesting. It turns out that deciding to lose weight isn't enough when it comes to actually losing weight, and I bet you can relate to that. One of the most common reasons is being at the effect of resistance. So you feel resistance and then you cave into resistance. Now, this comes up in many ways, but the one I want to talk to you about is tracking or food journaling. Tracking what you actually eat is something that many people who have successfully lost weight have in common. You can write it down, you can take a phone memo, or you can take a picture of your food. It doesn't matter, but the idea is to document what you're actually eating. It's a way to be honest with yourself about what you ate, and it's also a way to have data to look back at if you're not losing weight, especially at the rate that you want. Now, even though this is a proven strategy, many feel resistance to doing it. In fact, you might be rolling your eyes right now. Food journaling? Ugh. So the question is, if you've decided to lose weight and it's a common strategy for success, why do you feel resistant? Why don't you want to do it? A lot of times when you're doing this work, the question why is one of the most powerful questions you can ask yourself. I mentioned that earlier today. And most of the time, you think your thoughts are facts. So when you ask yourself why, you have the opportunity to dig a little deeper and explore what you're making it mean. The bottom line is always that you can do what you want, but you have to like your reasons. So what are your reasons for not wanting to do something that will likely help you reach your weight loss goals? You will see this kind of resistance in many areas of your life. Maybe you're working on a morning routine and then the alarm goes off and you're resistant to getting up and following through. Or maybe you're working on moving your body more and you have resistance to honoring your calendar. So interesting, right? The beauty of mindfulness work is that you can recognize your thinking, but also recognize that you're not your thoughts. You're simply a watcher of your thoughts, so you can decide to do it anyway. You can practice thinking a thought like this one. I'm open to the idea that food journaling isn't as bad as I think it is, for example. Play with it. See what works for you. And if you want to lose weight and finally be successful, you may want to set the stage a little differently than you have in the past. So these 4 things will absolutely help you. This is what we talked about. 1, increase your awareness of your thinking about midlife weight loss. 2, check in on your emotional eating. 3, connect with your hunger and urges. And 4, explore your resistance to journaling. Most of the time, you're not even aware of what you're thinking about your ability to lose weight. And if you've been on many diets over the decades, over the years, you may not think that you can lose weight, right? You may just end up quitting in advance. It's so important to notice these thoughts and then challenge them. Thoughts are optional. And you know what? I got the memo. You could do hard things, even at your age. That's it for this episode. My focus as a midlife coach is to help you get excited about your life again. That means you have to get better at thinking on purpose. Being the queen of your brain domain, supervising your brain, helping yourself create the results and outcomes that you really want in your life. I'm excited to hear about what you do with all this helpful information about setting the stage for successful weight loss. Make sure to send me an email at info@suzyrosenstein.com. Check out the show notes with more information and links at www.suzyrosenstein.com. Also remember to check out my free Facebook group, the Women in the Middle Community, at www.facebook.com/groups/Women in the Middle Community. It's for women just like you, and it's where we continue the conversation. Get your free ebook, 9 Secrets to Get Unstuck in Your 50s. That is waiting for you as well. And just go to www.suzyrosenstein.com/9 secrets. That's 9 NINE secrets. And finally, if you like what you've heard on today's episode, just head over to the Women in the Middle podcast on iTunes and leave me a review, which of course is greatly appreciated, and it does help other women find the podcast. So that would be awesome. Let's do this, ladies. One bold, brave, and amazing thought at a time. Thanks so much for listening.